that was mentioned in Budget 22-23. We are further strengthening the artificial intelligence excellence centers being built in top education institutions. So in March 2024, government approved e-vehicle policy to promote India as a manufacturing destination so that e-vehicles with the latest technology can be manufactured in our country. So furthermore, I go back to the point that I had made in 2021 budget about the new public sector enterprises policy, which clearly opened up all sectors in India for private participation also. Public sector will continue in critical core sector and strategically important sectors, but private sector has been now allowed into every sector, none of which is reserved for public sector alone. I take the example of the space sector, sir, here. Opening up has helped, and today space sector startups are receiving funds, and India is now becoming a big hub for space sector innovation and space sector startups. The recent newspaper announcements have been clearly stating the kind of investment interest which is being generated. The figures are not readily available with me, but I know that $126 million funding was received by startups in 2023. But that continues, the flow continues. Further, both in the last year's budget and this year's, sir, we have allocated resources for the National Research Foundation under the National Research Foundation Act of 2023. This time also Anusandhan National Research Foundation has had allocation be made. Last year itself we declared 50,000 crores for over 5 years for research for research along with private sector. So in these ways we have tried making India an attractive manufacturing destination and given good incentive and impetus for manufacturing to set up business in India. So a brief look at some highlights of the numbers that I want to speak about. The total expenditure in the Union government's budget statement 24-25 is 48.21 lakh crores. The total expenditure in the regular budget 24-25 is 54,744 crores more than that of the interim budget which was presented in 1st February this year. So the highlight that I would like to draw the attention of the honorable members is that capital expenditure is pegged at 11 lakh crores, and this is one of the biggest ever allocation made for capital expenditure, and this shows a 17% increase over the provisional actuals of February of FY 23-24 over the last year. 17% increase over the last year. But in this context, I would like to highlight one important fact about the capital expenditure which happened during the UPA era. Capex allocation was 13.19 lakh crores between 2004-5 to 2013-14. The 10 years of UPA saw 13.19 lakh crores. Whereas during our 10 years ending 2024, the allocation for capital expenditure is 43.82 lakh crores. So the emphasis that we've given, particularly after COVID, for the capital expenditure being one of the very important routes through which the economy revival can be planned, has actually shown result, but the actual numbers are these. So there is also interest among members to know if the transfer to the states has been proper and as has been recommended by the finance commissions. I would like to underline that our unflinching commitment to cooperative federalism, the total resources proposed to be transferred to the state this year, 24-25, is estimated to be 22.91 lakh crores. This actually entails an increase of about 2.49 lakh crores over 23-24. Even compared to last year, it's an increase of about 2.49 lakh crores. Similarly, the outlays for all union territories has also increased from 61,118 crores in 23-24 to 68,660 crores in 24-25. So the states and the union territories are clearly getting in time the resources which are expected to be released for them. Although the budget documents have details of different schemes, I'm moving over to this point about sectoral allocations. So there is this interest to know if the allocations for certain particular sectors have increased or decreased. I would like to just give a comparative picture, sir. Agriculture and allied sectors in 24-25 received 1.52 lakh crores, which is 8,000 crores more than the last year. There is no reduction. Just for comparison, 2013-14, when the UPA government term was over, they had given only 30,000 crore. 30,000 crore then, 1.52 lakh crores now. Sir, education, employment and skilling, 1.48 lakh.
Please, honorable members, Finance Minister is speaking. Please, please. Yes. Honorable Finance Minister.
Sir, 24-25 budget for education, employment and skilling is 1.48 lakh crores, and it is 28,000 crores more than the last year, whereas again 2013-14 it was only 85,000 crores. Women and girls, sir, 3.27 lakh crores in the current budget, which is 41% more allocation, 96,000 crore more allocation compared to the previous year. 96,000 crores it was in 2013-14. Similarly, for rural development, sir, 24-25, the current budget gives 2.66 lakh crores, 28,000 crores more than compared to last year, and it was just 87,000 crores in 2013-14. Urban development, 83,000 crores and 7,000 crores more than the last year, 12,000 crores in 13-14. Health and social welfare, sir, 1.46 lakh crores. Compared to last year, it is 74,000 crores more, 3,000 crore more than last year and 74,000 crores more than 2013-14. So I also already mentioned about the fiscal deficit. I just want to highlight that we had projected 5.1% of the GDP as the fiscal deficit in the interim budget, whereas now when we presented the regular budget for this year, it has been brought down further to 4.9%, and we aim to reach the deficit below 4.5% next year, sticking to the glide path given in 2021. And it was also said in the budget speech that from 26-27 onwards, our endeavor will be to adhere to a path that ensures that the central government's debt as a percentage of GDP is on the declining trend. Our focus will be on that. So I'd like to mention in this August House that the average weighted average yield, which is broadly the one which corresponds to the average cost of borrowing of the central government securities issued during the 10-year period of 2014-15 to 2023-24 is lower by about 60 basis points than the period between 2004-5 to 13-14. This is, and I'm giving a very notional idea, sir, but it helps to put things in perspective. If the borrowings in UPA 1 and UPA 2 were near the rates obtained by us. I know it is determined by so many other factors, market and so on. But if the borrowings in the UPA 1 and 2 were near the rates obtained by us, which could have been possible if they had our policies and our kind of credibility, it would have resulted in notional interest savings of approximately 35,000 crores for the government. Just to bring in the perspective, it can always be questioned saying, oh, how can you bring in notional? But it's a perspective, sir. This points to recognition of this government's fiscal management and the management and this observation. The government's fiscal management prowess is an object. It's an observation of global observers, domain experts, and of course dispassionate economists, that the fiscal management of this government, which is a typical good feature which the Honorable then CM of Gujarat and now PM of country has always maintained fiscal prudence as one of the very important governance principles. Honorable members, therefore, would be pleased to know that with all these governance macroeconomic stability related features, the IMF has recently upgraded India's gross domestic product growth in the year 24-25 to 7%. So from an exceptionally low hit GDP growth during COVID, within a few years to rise to be the fastest growing economy in the world, I think could not have been possible without the hard work and toil of all Indians, irrespective of the sectors in which they are, farmers, workers, informal sector workers, construction workers, and all the entrepreneurs, the MSMEs and so on, and the visionary leadership which has a futuristic vision, because from the front the Prime Minister leads the economy, we are able to achieve this goal. So I also presented the budget for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. I just want to highlight a few important features before I move on to responding to honorable members' issues which they had raised on the budget. So I'm happy to inform that the concrete steps that have been taken by the Union Territory administration to free itself from the legacy fiscal distress related issues which they had inherited from the erstwhile state. And this has borne good results. With substantial financial support given by the Government of India, 17,000 crores have been provided as support in the Union budget of UT this year. The fiscal deficit to GSDP ratio of the Union Territory of J&K is estimated at 3% for the financial year 24-25. There is clearly a sign that public finances of UT of Jammu and Kashmir is now back on the rails. The government has worked very hard, unhindered, towards fulfilling the development aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir with great sense of fiscal responsibility. Because I'm dealing with Jammu Kashmir budget now and later I go to the general budget, there are issues which have been raised about J&K budget which has been tabled in this house, both inside and outside of this august house. Now I take this opportunity with your permission, sir, to address issues which have been raised in this house and equally because of importance given of those issues which have been raised outside as well. So the first issue is borrowings have risen from 12,000 crores to 24,000 crores in the last 2 years, and it is unprecedented and it shows fiscal mismanagement. This is an allegation. I like to respond, sir. Unlike other states and union territories, J&K has been plagued with pressures from externally sponsored terrorism. This is not a secret, all of us know it. In addition, historical legacy of poor governance, and I reiterate this point, sir, historical legacy of poor governance and low revenue base had created a situation of near perpetual distress and dependence on the union government. Just no way in which the state could have run without the union helping them, and that is how the main feature of J&K's state's budget was, and also the economy was. Given this kind of a legacy inheritance that we've got, as part of the efforts to correct lingering fiscal distortions and for enabling transparent disclosure of the fiscal situation, the Union Territory Administration has brought off-budget borrowings onto its books. This has been done within the borrowing ceiling allowed to the Union Territory in each of the years which have gone by. So this is something which I have to state with conviction, that the UT was permitted to undertake additional borrowings against unutilized borrowing space from the previous years to take off-budget borrowings on the budget and finance its expenditure commitments. So the questions also, or the allegations also were that fiscal deficit was pegged at 1.6% and it has turned to 5.36 in FY24, more than 3 times the original estimate. And also that the capex has been slashed by 10%. The question therefore was, will the central government take blame for fiscal profligacy at the state level? I'd like to dispel any confusion in the minds of people. Along with the special support of 17,000 crore which has been announced in this budget from the union government, several other things are happening along with the efforts in recent past would reduce the fiscal deficit, and I hope it will reduce the fiscal deficit to 3.3% actually in 24-25. So it's not just the 17,000 crores that has been given as a special support, but also because of the efforts which are being put in the last few years, I think fiscal deficit will be back at 3%. While tax revenues, sir, have seen impressive growth, efforts on metering has improved billing and collection efficiency in the power sector, and that has also resulted in non-tax revenues increasing from 5,148 crores in 22-23 to 6,500 crores in 23-24. It's a big reform step that has been taken, well received by the people, and as a result of which we are able to have collection efficiency in the power sector. And I appreciate the J&K administration for having taken this effort, which is showing results for its own benefit. The Union Territory has also very important points, and this is a point which I submit to your consideration and for the August House to recognize, that the Union Territory has discontinued the earlier practices of running hundis and overdrafts from J&K Bank for its day-to-day cash management. This was a feature, sir. Every year, this would literally be a burden on J&K Bank, and equally a lazy comfort for the administration, that they could do this operation with the J&K Bank and get away with being transparent in the way in which they handled the accounts. I'm glad that this practice has been discontinued. During the last 4 years, the J&K Bank has made a remarkable turnaround from a loss-making bank of 1,139 crores of rupees in 2019-20. The bank has now made a profit of 1,700 crores in the year 23-24. So that is the kind of turnaround, and that's the kind of efficiency with which the bank is now performing, being run professionally since after 2019. Capital expenditure for the Union Territory, sir, has also increased from 10,634 crore rupees 22-23 to 12,101 crore in 23-24. So recording a 13.8% growth. So J&K, Union Territory and their situation is in a healthy fiscal situation being able to meet the development aspirations of the state. One other point of criticism, if I may say so, has been that the state's tax to GDP ratio increased from 5 to 8% in 3 years. Does this mean the people of J&K are subject to heavy taxation without any corresponding increase in their welfare? This is one of the questions asked. I like to highlight, sir, that the J&K situation, J&K's higher tax to GDP ratio is due to better compliance and effective monitoring of the taxation system. I like to mention that with the introduction of GST, tax rate across the country is the same on all GST products. The rate of taxation on non-GST items are either at par with other states or only lower and not higher in J&K. Revenues from GST, motor spirit tax, excise, stamp duties were 9,467 crores in 2019-20. It has increased to 13,903 crores in the year 23-24. So the administration is showing efficiency in collecting from non-GST tax also. And as a result, the fiscal health of the state is also improving. So the UT has also given care to expand the dealer registrations, improved GST return compliances, initiated a lot of e-stamping systems, and conducted transparent excise auctions. Very important, sir. Transparent excise auctions. So that itself gives a lot of confidence about the way in which J&K administration is moving. On the employment rate, sir, 15 to 59-year-olds, the unemployment rate has come down from 6.4% in 2020-21, gradually to 5.7% in 21-22, and to 4.4% in 22-23. This has become possible because of substantial public investments that have led to creation of avenues of employment opportunities. Sir, I'd like the honorable members and yourself, the honorable chair, sir, to listen to the next issue, for which I will give my response. But I'm a bit concerned about the way this kind of a charge has been made on the union government. Sir, the allegation is, and I read it, perhaps the most worrying development is the FM's announcement that the union government has agreed to take the entire burden of the budget of police in J&K by spending 12,000 crores. It further goes to say this was earlier being done by the union government as part of the security reimbursement expenditure. Why has that been repackaged from a reimbursement situation is the question. Further, has the police salary liability been taken over by the union government in perpetuity is also a question. To add to it, and this is the most interesting part, sir, does it reflect the government's intention to rule the state from Delhi in perpetuity by retaining home affairs of J&K with the union government? Will the FM commit in the House that taking over police salary liability is not a Trojan horse